started.
Oh, Doc Kappa. Let's see. Knight to f3, and I respond in kind. Knight f6, c4. So we're going for a maybe a symmetrical English here. Yeah, I guess so. Let's see if I play this pawn move immediately. Pawn takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes. I think it's okay here. He hasn't even fianchettoed his bishop. Yeah, he's going to. And I'm going to leave the knight there until it needs to move. So I think we get a typical kind of position. I just have to watch out for discovered attacks with this knight, because wherever this knight moves, my knight is suddenly hanging. And if he trades, my queen will be hanging there. So if this knight has any great moves, then I'm in trouble. Okay, or now he's putting direct pressure on it. So I can defend with e6, blocking in my bishop. But I think that's okay. I actually had a game recently where I played something like this, and I didn't defend with the bishop. And I got into, I didn't defend. I kept the e-pawn back, and so I could bring my bishop out, and I got into a bit of trouble. Okay, so now I have a little more space in the center here. He's got pressure on the light squared diagonal, so he can put something on that. He can attack my d-pawn by moving his knight. Okay, well that's good. He took the queen. The queen took her eye off of b7 here. That was preventing me from developing my bishop. On the other hand, the queen is attacking c5, but I guess I can defend that okay. And now my bishop can go to b7. Yeah, I think I like it on b7. It could also have gone to e6 to defend this pawn that way. And now knight to knight to d4 there looks like a move, but knight takes, bishop takes. I don't know if that really accomplishes a whole lot. You may be thinking of playing b4 to counteract here. The bishop there. I'm going to threaten his e-pawn though and see how he reacts. Just defends. Okay, I think I need to provoke that exchange anyway. Oh, I could have played rook c1. I could have played rook c8 rather instead of this. Okay, if I take, he can take with the queen or the pawn. If I don't take, I can retreat. I take, and his queen still goes there. So I might as well take, right? Or I could play queen to f6. Then he takes, I take back with the queen. This pawn is still defended. I think this is okay. Just helps me maintain control of this diagonal, which is a sensitive diagonal now that I've got the fianchetto here. And this gives him a weak d-pawn, perhaps. Perhaps there's something to be done to exploit that. My bishop is loose here, so I can't just push my pawn forward. Maybe he can exploit that in some way. So, how should I deal with this? Is he threatening to push his pawns forward? I guess I just take if he pushes the pawns forward. So I don't like rook to b8, even though it defends the bishop. It's a bit passive there. So maybe rook to c8, and then I drop the bishop back to a8 to defend, and my rook here is looking a little more active opposite the queen. And then we'll let him see what he wants to do. He's got a kind of a hedgehog setup here. So I got kind of a reverse hedgehog. So now I could play d4, which was sort of prevented before because my bishop was hanging, but now d4 is possible. He can play. If I play d4 and he plays e4, it kind of blocks in his bishop. And if he takes, I take back with the queen, and I have an isolated pawn to attack. Yeah, so my idea here was to get the queen out of the way. Where's a good square for the queen? Not entirely sure. Get the queen out of the way of the f-pawn and just push that pawn forward. He just kicks my queen back. Yeah, I'm not sure where I want to go. So he can push forward. After I move the queen, he can push forward with either the f-pawn or the e-pawn. And if he pushes the e-pawn, I want to be able to get in the move f6 somehow. Which is not so easy to play with my queen here. So maybe the queen should go all the way back to the d file and try and find something useful to do there. And we'll see if he wants to move these pawns at all. I might just play f6 anyway if he doesn't move the pawns immediately. Play f6. I mean, it opens up this diagonal, but I'm going to move my king forward. Excuse me. Play the pawn to f6 first, just to be able to exchange off this pawn when he plays it. So now he chooses to go there. Interesting. Okay, so now I can blockade here on the dark squares, right? Oh yeah, my queen's guarding the f-pawn. The king can come forward. And he can double. So let's prepare to defend with a rook. So I'm lifting my rook up to bring it over to f7. And then I'm going to play king to g7. Looks a bit funny, but I wanted to keep the bishop protected. Maybe that wasn't strictly necessary. And king g7 is good because it keeps the queen out of these squares too. Okay, so now he's piled up here. He can triple. So the question is, can I play f5 here? Pawn takes, and my king is completely empty of defenses. Pawn takes, I take the bishop. Takes another pawn, I take the rook. Let's save the piece. Maybe queen over here. Get just directly in line here. So I don't see how he's going to be able to pile up enough force to really do anything to my f-pawn. I wonder if I can pile up on his h-pawn or something. Should probably bring this bishop out somewhere. Maybe bishop here to come back to here. Because he can always activate his bishop by going to h3 there. He goes pawn. He goes with pawn to h4. That's interesting. But the bishop on d7 gives me an interesting possibility of f5, pawn takes, bishop takes. And I'm trying to activate over there. His queen is looking at the light squares there. It's funny, I thought he was just going to triple on the f-file, but I have this f-file covered, so his king is going there. Okay, so f5 now. Pawn takes, bishop takes. He can push this pawn forward. And I'm hitting this pawn. It's not so great, is it? f5, pawn takes, rook takes. Rook takes, bishop takes. Then he can't push that pawn forward. So let's try it. I want to make this work. Sometimes, I mean, you just, I have the feeling I need to open up the position to make any progress here. I may be opening it up to my own destruction. That sometimes happens, but that's what I want to do here. Okay, he can do that because I can't take his pawn. He can take the rook if I take his pawn. So means I have to drop back here. Now I can take the pawn. So he takes. I take with the bishop. He takes with the bishop. I take with the rook. He takes with the rook. I take with the queen. He takes with the rook. So that means I have to take with a pawn at the end. It's not so great, is it? Do I have any? There is this intermediate check here, but his queen. I have rook to here. Is this pawn pinned? Not really. Yeah, it's giving up the this square. So maybe queen to h5 is dangerous here. But he didn't play that way. He brought his rook over to guard the checks. I mean, queen h5, I guess I could answer queen h5 with the rook check, huh? And maybe he's just getting set up to play queen to f1 here. I wonder, though. I mean, it seems like a good spot for my rook. It's just my problem is my king is more exposed than his king. I have queen to d6 here, concentrating on this pawn. So maybe I give up the last pawn around my king. I don't know. Yeah, he comes in with the queen, right? So that's dangerous for sure. Okay, if I play queen to f7, you can check. I go here, you can take with the rook. That's a bit unfortunate. If I go queen to c6, looking at this pawn, and he takes here with the rook or the queen. Well, we'll see. This is really complicated here, and there's so many checks around my king and threats that it's hard to know what's possible. I was just hoping to put my king somewhere. I see the problem now. I was where he doesn't take here with check, so I could take on g3. That was my plan, but this defended g3. So now he can grab there, and maybe he's just mating me here. Check there.
Check.
Wonder if there's any way I have to check him. He goes there. So I can pin his rook. But he has those queen checks. It's nice to be able to pin the rook anyway. Let's see, a minute left. Okay, this might be a tricky game.
Check.
Okay, he's forcing an exchange. Now my queen's defended, actually. But is it better to let him take or to take myself? Well, let's see. So we'll go into this rook and pawn endgame. If I attack his rook, he can come back and defend. So let's just go after the pawns right away. And now I have a couple of nice runners here, right? My pawns are faster than his. That can't be right. He must have thought his rook was on a different square.
White resign.
Okay, well, interesting game. That's a very unclear endgame, so we'll check that out in the postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.